On a serene Sunday afternoon, a gentle knock on the bathroom door set the stage for an unexpected turn of events, leaving me unprepared for the unfolding drama that would change everything. It was a typical Sunday, the kind that wraps you in a warm embrace of tranquility, whispering promises of peace. The sun hung high in the sky, its gentle rays filtering through the curtains of our cozy suburban abode, wrapping everything in a warmth that seemed to slow the world down just a touch. Sundays had always been my sanctuary, a time to pause and breathe, to drift away into my thoughts or immerse myself in the captivating world of a video game. Yet, this Sunday unfolded in a way that felt distinct, even if I was unaware of it at the beginning. After lunch, I made my way to the bathroom, intending to linger there for a bit. The familiar quest for a serene pause, a fleeting escape into solitude, where the world fades away and tranquility reigns supreme. In moments of quiet, I found myself lost in the glow of my phone, perhaps indulging in a game or two, savoring the peace of solitude. The bathroom was my refuge, a haven where I could close the door on the outside world and steal a moment to inhale deeply. Unbeknownst to me, the ordinary afternoon I had anticipated was on the brink of an unexpected twist. As I lingered in that moment, my fingers danced across the screen of my phone, when suddenly, the soft sound of footsteps reverberated through the hallway. In the beginning, I found myself not giving it much thought. In our home, a symphony of subtle sounds played continuously, the gentle creak of the floorboards beneath our feet, the soft hum of the refrigerator working tirelessly, and the faint echoes of the television's chatter drifting from the living room. Yet, these footsteps carried a unique essence, a sense of purpose behind each step. They moved with a gentle intention, pausing just beyond the threshold of the bathroom door. And then, there was a knock at the door. The knock was gentle, a soft invitation rather than a demand, whispering for attention without urgency. Yet, it was peculiar enough to cause me to hesitate. My mom's voice trailed behind, carrying an overly cheerful tone. "Greetings, my dear, are you present within?" I furrowed my brow, casting a glance at the door that stood resolutely shut. "Indeed, mother, I shall emerge shortly." "All right," she replied, her voice shimmering with an almost dazzling brightness, a touch too radiant. "Embrace the moment." As her footsteps faded away down the hallway, I turned my attention back to my phone, attempting to shake off the peculiar encounter. My mom never really had the habit of checking in on me while I was in the bathroom. We were not a family that required frequent check-ins about our whereabouts or activities, yet today, for some inexplicable reason, she felt compelled to pause and greet us through the door. Strange, yet not something to dwell on too much. Or so it seemed to me. Time slipped away and silence enveloped the scene once more. The house lay in quiet repose, interrupted only by the gentle whispers of the wind caressing the windows. I attempted to find my calm, yet the echo of that knock persisted, haunting the corners of my thoughts. My mom seemed different, as if she had stepped out of her own story. She hadn't strayed from the path, yet the cadence of her voice resonated with an unspoken tension. Once upon a time, in a world where tales unfolded like the petals of a flower, there was a moment when everything came to a halt. I shook my head, attempting to dispel the unsettling feeling that was creeping in. Perhaps she was simply feeling cheerful, I reassured myself. Perhaps she had thoughts to share at another time, or perhaps she was merely reaching out. Yet, despite all the narratives I spun, I couldn't shake the peculiar nature of it. And then, just as I was beginning to find my calm once more, the sound of her footsteps echoed back to me. This moment, they moved at a languid pace, filled with uncertainty. My heart raced, stirred by an inexplicable force. Once more, she found herself poised outside the door. But what is the reason behind it? Is everything all right in there? Her voice emerged, softer this time, tinged with a hint of uncertainty. Yeah, I replied, my voice trembling just a touch. I'll be on my way shortly. A moment lingered, a heartbeat of stillness that extended just a touch beyond comfort before her reply emerged. Very well. Yet she remained still. I could sense her presence lingering just beyond the door, and my heart began to race in my chest. Treasure chest. Unbeknownst to me, a sense of unease lingered, yet the palpable tension in the air was undeniable. As I rose to my feet, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the mirror. I appeared unchanged, with the same tousled hair, the same hoodie, the same everything. Yet the sensation within the room felt different. A weight lingered in the atmosphere, thick and disquieting. At long last, the sound of her footsteps faded away, echoing down the hallway, leaving behind a silence that felt like it had stretched on for ages. I released a breath I hadn't even known I was holding. My body unwinds ever so gently. Yet the discomfort lingered on. As I emerged from the bathroom, I splashed water on my face, hoping to wash away the peculiar tension that had taken hold of me. The coolness of the water caressed my skin, yet it did little to clear the fog in my mind. Clad in nothing but a towel cinched around my waist, I pushed open the bathroom door and ventured into the hallway. All appeared as it always had, the familiar images adorning the walls, the gentle glow of light streaming through the windows. Yet, I found myself unable to dismiss the sense that something was amiss, as if the atmosphere within the house had transformed, just a whisper of change lingering in the air. As I strolled down the hallway, my bare feet whispered gently against the hardwood floor. I strolled past my mom's room, the door shut tight as always, and continued on to my own sanctuary at the far end of the hall. In the grand hall. As my hand approached the doorknob, I found myself hesitating. A glimmer of intrigue captured my gaze. The door stood ever so slightly open, inviting curiosity from those who dared to glance inside. Just a crack, yet it was enough to send my heart racing. My mother always sought permission before entering my room. Once upon a time. I eased the door open, my heart racing with anticipation, half hoping to see her waiting within, yet the room lay silent and vacant. All was as it should be, my bed perfectly arranged, my clothes stacked haphazardly on the chair in the corner, while my desk stood as a chaotic tapestry of papers and assorted items. Yet, there lingered an elusive quality, a sensation I couldn't fully grasp. The delicate aroma of her perfume danced softly in the air. The scent of my mother's perfume. It was a whisper, a fleeting presence almost imperceptible. Yet, it served to validate the suspicions that had already taken root within me. She had once walked these halls. But what is the reason behind it? And what had she been up to? I perched on the edge of my bed, thoughts swirling like leaves caught in a tempest. Perhaps she had merely entered to straighten things up, or perhaps she sought something from my room. Yet that seemed utterly perplexing. She never took that path. The absence of her mention when she rapped on the bathroom door earlier only deepened the mystery surrounding the situation. As I reclined on the bed, my gaze fixed upon the ceiling, I found myself lost in thought, attempting to unravel the complexities of it all. The greater I. The more I pondered, the more inquiries arose within me. What could have prompted her to enter my room in silence? What could have compelled her to remain outside the bathroom for so long? And why did it seem as though there was a secret lingering just beyond her words? Yet the tale continued beyond that point. As the afternoon unfolded, I found myself revisiting the events repeatedly in my mind, seeking to unravel the peculiar tension that had woven itself between us. There was an air of mystery, an elusive sensation that danced just beyond my grasp. Though I longed to dismiss it as inconsequential. An unsettling sense lingered, whispering that a profound transformation was on the horizon. The days that unfolded after that peculiar meeting in the bathroom were far from ordinary. A subtle shift lingered in the atmosphere between my mom and me, an unspoken transformation that eluded my understanding. It was not as if we had a falling out or some big argument, yet there lingered an invisible line that felt irrevocably crossed, and neither of us dared to acknowledge its presence. Uncertainty lingered in my mind, a delicate dance of hesitation about whether to broach the subject or let it remain unspoken. Yet the tension lingers, subtle, yet unmistakable. Hung in the air between us, as if it were anticipating a moment yet to come. It began with subtle nuances, like the way her gaze lingered on me just a bit too intently as I entered the room. There were moments when I would catch her gaze, only for her to swiftly avert her eyes, feigning busyness with some trivial task. Otherwise, or how she appeared to linger, always discovering a reason to share the same space as me. It seemed that every time I sought a moment of solitude, she would appear, nestled in the living room during my quiet hours, bustling in the kitchen while I reached for a snack, or even meticulously folding laundry on the couch as I immersed myself in video games. Initially, I attempted to dismiss it, attributing it to mere chance. Perhaps she yearned for more moments shared between them, or perhaps there was a weight on her heart that she struggled to express. Yet, as it unfolded time and again, it became increasingly evident that there was a deeper purpose behind it all. There lay a hidden truth, a matter neither of us dared to face. One evening, we found ourselves nestled on the couch, engrossed in the flickering images of the television. The gentle illumination of the screen danced in the shadows of the living room, accompanied only by the soothing murmur of the show and the occasional chime of ice in her glass. I found myself attempting to immerse in the show, yet my thoughts continually wandered back to her presence beside me. She was closer than ever, so near that I could sense the warmth emanating from her form. My heart started to race, and I found myself puzzled by the reason behind it. Her words were few, merely fleeting remarks about the show, yet each one carried a weight, as if there were deeper meanings lurking beneath the surface. I remained transfixed by the screen, yet all I could ponder was the distance that lay between us. Or, more accurately, the absence of space. Each time her arm grazed mine, a delightful shiver coursed through my skin, leaving me pondering the reason behind my newfound sensitivity to her every subtle gesture. As the credits rolled and the show concluded, a wave of relief swept over me. Perhaps it was the weight of the moment, the closeness stretching on, but I felt an urge to rise, to create a space between us. As my hand hovered over the remote, ready to silence the flickering screen, her voice broke the stillness, halting my motion. "You've truly blossomed," she remarked, her voice soft, tinged with reflection. I lingered, the remote clutched tightly in my hand, caught in a moment of uncertainty about how to reply. "Indeed," I murmured, stealing a sidelong glance at her. Her gaze was fixed on me, a look that sent my stomach into a spiral, as if she were witnessing something profound. The stillness that followed was thick, the kind that left my palms clammy with anticipation. Uncertainty gripped me, and the weight of silence felt heavy, as if it were the wrong choice. Just as I began to search for the right words, she surprised me with an unexpected action. With a gentle motion, she extended her hand, and let it rest upon mine. It was a soft caress, yet it surged through me like a flash of lightning. My breath hitched in my throat, and my initial urge was to retreat, yet I remained steadfast. I was unable to. I remained still, my heart pounding, as her fingers gently wrapped around mine. With a gentle whisper, she conveyed her pride, her voice a soft murmur in the stillness of the room. Her hand lingered for a moment longer before she slowly withdrew it, leaving behind a chill, an emptiness where her warmth had once resided. At last, I released a breath, even as my thoughts whirled in a chaotic dance. "Thank you," I managed to utter, though the words seemed to echo emptily. My gaze drifted back to the TV, yet the images on the screen no longer captured my attention. My mind was a whirlwind, weaving through the chaos of recent events, seeking clarity in the aftermath. I sensed her gaze upon me, her eyes meticulously exploring every contour of my face. Yet, I found myself unable to meet her gaze. Never again after that. With a sudden movement, she rose, shattering the stillness that had enveloped us like a thick fog. "I'm going to bed," she said, her voice returning to its familiar cadence. It felt as if the world had paused, as if we had not just stepped over an invisible boundary that left us both adrift, uncertain of the path ahead. "Good night," I replied, my gaze fixed on the screen, my mind swirling with thoughts, still attempting to unravel it all. Once her footsteps faded into the distance of the hallway, I released a breath I hadn't known I was holding. My thoughts swirled in a chaotic dance of confusion, curiosity, and an unacknowledged feeling that lingered just beneath the surface. Why had I simply remained in that spot? Why did I linger, my hand still resting there? And why did it seem as though this was merely the start of something greater? The days that followed were nothing short of uncomfortable, to put it mildly. I skillfully navigated my time around her, crafting excuses to remain in the sanctuary of my room, or to venture out into the world whenever the opportunity arose. Yet, despite my efforts to steer clear of her, the tension lingered between us, thick and palpable, much like a shadowy cloud looming overhead. The memory of that moment on the couch lingered in my mind, the warmth of her hand resting on mine, the softness of her voice wrapping around me like a cherished secret. And then, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the evening took a turn, and events began to unfold in unexpected ways. As the night deepened, I found myself immersed in the final touches of my homework, when a gentle knock echoed through my door. My heart raced as I beckoned, "Step inside." She entered, a hint of uncertainty flickering across her features, a rare sight for someone so accustomed to confidence. "Hey," she murmured gently, lingering in the doorway as if uncertain about stepping fully inside. "Would you lend me a hand with a little task in the garage?" For a fleeting moment, I paused. Being alone with her was like venturing into uncharted waters, fraught with peril, yet I found myself unable to refuse. "Of course," I replied, rising to my feet and trailing behind her as we made our way down the hallway. The garage lay in a chill embrace, shrouded in shadows, with a solitary overhead bulb casting its feeble glow. She guided me to a pile of boxes, sharing her thoughts on the need for organization, yet her voice felt far away. The atmosphere around us buzzed with an electric tension that held my thoughts captive. As we stood side by side, shifting boxes with care, I sensed the distance between us diminishing, despite our unchanged physical proximity. It felt as if an invisible force was pulling us closer, and despite my efforts to resist, it was becoming increasingly undeniable. As I caught a fleeting glimpse of her from the periphery, our eyes locked for the briefest moment, a spark igniting in the silence between us. Yet, in that fleeting moment, a transformation occurred. In her gaze, there lingered a certain vulnerability, a rawness that sent a flutter through my stomach. In an unexpected moment, she drew nearer. As her hand lightly grazed mine, an electric thrill surged through every fiber of my being. I stood there paralyzed, my thoughts racing wildly, urging me to retreat, to utter a word, to halt this unfolding moment. Yet, I remained still. The silence lingered, thick and oppressive. And then, in a voice that danced on the edge of silence, she confided, "I've been thinking about you. A great deal." My heart raced within me, and I found myself at a loss for words. I parted my lips, ready to utter a word, any word at all. Yet, the words lingered, caught in the depths of my throat. I found myself gasping for air. My mind was a blank canvas, devoid of thoughts. And then, in a moment that caught me off guard, she leaned in. The distance that once separated us vanished in a heartbeat, and I sensed her breath against my skin, warm and gentle. As her lips hovered mere inches from mine, my mind went blank, and in that fleeting moment, the world around us melted into nothingness. It was a misstep. I was aware it was not right. Yet the unfolding events were beyond any control. Not any longer. The next few moments unfolded like a dream, as if time had decided to linger, enveloping me in this strange realm where everything was unfolding at a pace that feels both rushed and agonizingly slow. Her face hovered near mine, the warmth of her breath brushing against my skin, and in that moment, uncertainty enveloped me like a thick fog, leaving me questioning the very nature of reality. My thoughts swirled like a tempest, a chaotic blend of emotions that I found impossible to unravel. All I sensed was that an irreversible moment was on the brink of unfolding, and there was no way to halt its course. Her gaze pierced through to me, a silent inquiry, a moment suspended in time, yearning for a signal, a whisper of consent. I found myself uncertain about whether I was prepared to offer it. Yet, in that fleeting moment, before my mind could catch up, before I could even respond, her lips met mine, gentle, tentative, yet unmistakably present. It was an experience unlike any I had ever encountered. My whole being tightened as the weight of the moment enveloped me, yet I remained steadfast, refusing to retreat. I was unable to do so. A magnetic force lingered in the air, an unspoken connection that held me captive, unable to move. It was but a fleeting moment. Yet, in that fleeting moment, the very fabric of reality appeared to transform. All that surrounded us dissolved into the background, the garage, the boxes, the biting cold, none of it held significance any longer. All that existed was the sensation of her lips meeting mine, soft yet all-consuming, like a long-lost yearning I had never known I possessed. As she drew away, her eyes widened, brimming with an emotion that eluded my understanding. Was it fear, confusion, or perhaps a hint of regret? But then, in a moment that caught me off guard, before I could utter a word or fully grasp the whirlwind of emotions swirling around me, she pressed her lips against mine. Once more. This time, a resolute decision was made without a moment's pause. It was profound, more vivid, and in an instant, everything seemed more tangible, more perilous. My heart raced, pounding so loudly in my ears that I was convinced she could hear it as well. Yet, I remained steadfast, unwilling to let go. Instead, I found myself surrendering to the kiss, my thoughts swirling as I endeavored to grasp the unfolding moment. It felt like there was an unseen divide separating us. Broken. And now the path was set, with no way to retreat. The air thickened with anticipation, our breaths becoming rapid as each second slipped away. In her grip, there lingered a peculiar urgency, a fear of release, as if she clung to me with the same fervor that I held onto her, both of us entwined in a shared need that felt almost palpable. Yet the moment left no room for contemplation. There was no moment to pause and ponder the emotions flooding within me. All I could do was immerse myself, swept away in the tempest of feelings that had unexpectedly engulfed me. Suddenly, we found ourselves tumbling backward, escaping the confines of the garage and stepping into the embrace of the house. Silence enveloped us, a quiet pause hanging in the air. The quiet that enveloped us spoke volumes, far more than any words ever could. It felt as if we were both aware of the unfolding events that lay ahead. Yet, in the silence between us, the words lingered, unspoken and heavy with meaning. We found ourselves in the living room, the very spot where it all began. The soft glow from the TV painted the room in shades of twilight, stretching shadows that danced and whispered, enhancing the surreal atmosphere that enveloped everything. My heart raced as she approached, her gaze locked onto mine. The tension hung in the air, thick and palpable, as if the entire world was holding its breath, anticipating the unfolding of what lay ahead.